Let's just start with, I've not been paid to make this, the dev doesn't know me, I don't know him, I just got this plugin with my own money for cheap in a bundle a while ago, and I really like this EQ. In fact, I prefer it to ProQ, which I pretty much stopped using since I got this. We'll start with the basics. You can create filter bands by clicking anywhere in the spectrum analyzer. Double click at the top and the bottom to create shelves or cuts. Right clicking in the spectrum will give you a lot more options for band types. We'll take a look at some of these later. Mouse wheel adjusts the Q. The little ring around the band can increase the filter poles up to complete brick wall filters. Holding Alt allows you to solo a frequency band to listen more closely for what you are doing. Here are some more keyboard shortcuts from the manual. Just pause the video if you're interested. You can also zoom in on the frequency spectrum to look at an area in more detail using these sliders at the bottom of the analyzer. You get a frequency and a piano ruler to tune your filters to a pitch. You'll see later where this is particularly useful in this plugin. If you click these little squares here, you can see all your filter as modules with some extra controls like modulation input and stereo mid-side options. Input and output controls can be found on the left and right. Spectrum analyzer options, a phase shift visualizer and a clipper. Also, the UI is freely resizable in the settings and just looks nice and clean. So far so good, it does everything you'd want your everyday EQ to do. But it also goes a bit beyond. Besides your standard filters with extremely steep slopes, ApQualizr also comes with a bunch of specialty filters. As a sound design enthusiast, I'm particularly interested in the comb and harmonic filters, which allow you to resonate any sound and create interesting physical modeling patches. You get comb filters and a harmonic series of peaks, bands or notches. You rescale the spacing of these bands using the step control and choose to target odd or even harmonics in this little drop down here. Bands sets the number of peaks. This gets really interesting is when the modulators come into play. My personal favorite is the MIDI in, because it lets me key track all my filters very easily, turning the harmonic bands into a playable instrument. So I can just snap into my mic and even blow into it and play it like a flute. There are also some pretty fancy LFO and dynamics modulators, but as a Bitwig user I don't really have any use for them. Returning to more technical stuff, let's talk about the phase engines. We already saw that we can visualize the phase shift this EQ causes, and this will help us understand what they do a bit better. Minimal phase is the default. It's the most CPU efficient and introduces zero latency. It's also the best suited to very fast modulation changes. Filters are still decramped. My guess would be using some kind of auxiliary high shelf trickery. Analog phase is kind of similar to ProQ's natural phase mode. Unlike minimal phase, the phase response doesn't go wacky towards Nyquist, meaning it more closely approximates the phase response of an analog EQ. I tend to use this one on buses only, because while it does sound ever so subtly nicer, it also comes with latency and higher CPU. Mixed phase combines the best of both worlds between linear and minimum phase, meaning it keeps the phase response flat in the high end within reason, but introduces phase shift when appropriate to reduce pre-ringing and softening of transients. Lastly, linear phase is fully linear phase. The phase response stays linear no matter what you do. As with all linear phase filters, this comes at the cost of additional latency and pre-ringing. Usually mixed phase is the better choice here. The list of shortcomings of this EQ is rather short in my opinion. There's only one thing worth mentioning that might make it less appealing than ProQ or Kirchhoff for some. It doesn't come with dynamic EQ. You could probably build one using the dynamics modulator, but I could never be bothered. Price-wise, it's way cheaper than ProQ, which is nice. It's also worth considering getting it in a bundle with other ApQualizr plugins, mainly for the wave shaper and reverb, about both of which I'll be making videos in the future. The unmask and trigger are nice concepts too, I guess, but I'm not a huge fan personally and almost never use them. Obviously don't buy this before you try the demo, you fool. Do you need this if you already have Bitwig's EQ Plus? Probably not. Do you need this if you already have ProQ? Even less likely. Is it very nice to use and have? Yes. So yeah, a little more of a basic video. Just thought I'd show this to you in case you were gonna buy a ProQ. Maybe consider this instead, because I personally think it's better. Despite it not having dynamics, next video is gonna be some proper nerd shit again, with grids and maths and many silly little ideas. So yeah, see you till then. Bye.